Got any ideas?
Hey guys, VALTORIOUS the Awoken here. Now, I got a hot theory on the Castlevania the Netflix Castlevania. Now, I don't know. What if Alucard and Sypha actually, I don't know, had a kid together? Now, seeing how from the previous games and to the anime and the wonderful stuff that went on in the anime, now the game kind of like had it better to a degree with they actually they defeated Dracula and saw Dracula's castle fall and all that crazy good stuff. Then years later they had a child together and then so on and so on. But I was thinking, I was like, yeah, what if Alucard would have hooked up with Sypha instead of Trevor himself. Now Trevor, I think in this what if story to what if theory, what I used to say, what if theory to the what if story, but it's been a while. But yeah, I was thinking like, yeah, what if they would have had like a child, and let's say for the sake of the video, the child would have been named Deucalion Tepish. Now Deucalion Tepish obviously would have had like, I think that child would have been fucking busted as hell if you think about it, because I guess some parts of vampire traits and then just the powers and witchcraft, well, I wouldn't say witchcraft, but magics that she had and stuff like that. Like, I think that child would be even more crazier than the actual Belmont himself. Now, mind you, we have obviously the strongest Belmonts. That's what I've said in my previous videos. You can go check that out. But in the story, in the lore itself, was where you had Richter, and my personal take would be Justin, and then I guess you can probably say Julius. Like, those three Belmonts were obviously of like the three top strongest, I would say. But besides the point, I believe that if Alucard would have had a child, you can say that it would have been the same. You would have had Deucalion Tepish, and then you would have had like some of the descendants of the Belmont clan fighting up against Dracula. Now, it would have been interesting because I would have said you probably would have had like maybe Alucard, Deucalion Tepish, and then maybe one of the Belmonts, like all three of them just going up against Dracula. Now, some say it will be overkill because it's like, well, you have the son of Dracula, the grandson of Dracula, and then some parts of the descendants of the Belmonts that's actually fighting Dracula. Now, you could say that the Belmont family wouldn't have been as strong with, because, there's no Sypha in there and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think that they probably would have shacked up with maybe another family or maybe some other people that had like very powerful magics and stuff like that, and probably may have not had the same results, but it would have been different, maybe for the better or for the worse. But either way, they still Belmonts, and they still would have been strong enough to probably just fight and kill Dracula because of, vampire whip and, I should say the vampire killer and everything else that's been passed down to them for centuries and generations to be taught to fight and kill Dracula. Now, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, I think it probably would have been actually sick because all three of them were just going up against each other. Now, Dracula would have been seeing like, well, listen, if I can't turn my own son against like the ways that how I want it, then I probably go after the grandson. Now, before I even get to that, I would say that in this theory, because it would only kind of would make sense, because from what I've known, from the knowledge that I've known, is that, I don't think Alucard had a special woman. I don't think he had like a special woman in his life for him to, reproduce, or was it that he couldn't reproduce? I am not too sure, and I am not too sure if they had in like other remix games, any types of form that, he did have somebody special in his life, and he kind of had his business went off from there. So I am not too sure about that, but I was thinking about that, like, yeah, if Alucard himself would have actually did his thing, and then he would have like the grandson. But I think that for the grandson, like Deucalion Tepish, I think it would have been crazy, because if you think about it, Dracula would have, like I said, he would have failed to be like, I got a grandson now, so I can't turn my own son, so how about I turn you? So I think that after the like previous defeats of Dracula, like let's say it was just Deucalion Tepish and one of the descendants of the Belmonts. Now let's just say like they all like fighting Dracula, they managed to defeat him. So to stop the resurrection of Dracula, he thinks of an idea, well, let me absorb his power. Then Alucard comes along and tells him like, whoa, it's a bad idea, you shouldn't absorb his power, because you know there's still parts of him. And I would personally say that his son would be like Salma. He would be like Salma, where you know he has the power of Dracula, but you know he can actually become Dracula. And this is the part that scares Alucard, because he's like, well, listen, like, you my son and I don't want this to ever happen to you. But if he was to take the power of Dracula, now the power of Dracula would obviously corrupt him to the point where he's like, well, I have everything now, so I'm going to be doing all types of stupid stuff. And you know it just corrupts him, because Dracula's inside of him like, yes, I'm using my grandson, who's obviously strong. So you gotta imagine that his grandson having the power of him and then some. He like, you could say double that. He's like stronger than Richter, even stronger than that and stuff. And he's just, you know, fulfilling his mission, destroying most of humanity and stuff. And you know, to the point where it has to be Alucard and one of the descendants of the Belmont clan has to fight and defeat his own son. Now you could say by using the vampire killer, it would just, you know, it would probably like kill him and stuff. For I mean, at this point you have no choice, because this is what Dracula's ultimate goal is. It's like, well, you know, if I can't have my own family fight with me, then I might as well just destroy them. So he just does the most thing, and he goes after Alucard and stuff like that. He makes him like, listen, almost like, think of it like how when Christopher, like how Dracula had Christopher Belmont's son, and he was like, well, see, I got your son now you got no choice but to kill him, stuff like that. It'd be just like that, but kind of different, because he's actually inside of him and he's actually controlling him kind of. And then at this point there's no way you can like purify him and save him. You know, you have no choice but to kill him. So in sadness of what happened, you see Alucard going into his deep sleep, because you seen how in the original story, when everything was said and done, Alucard just went to sleep and left everything up to Trevor and, you know, and the rest of the Belmonts to deal with, you know, well, basically just left it up to Trevor after after when they defeated Dracula and stuff, and when the castle like came down, and he just like, well, you know, everything's done, he's dead, that's it, I'm going to sleep, like that. Basically, after when he would have defeated his own son and possibly, presuming, maybe killing him, that's when, in his sadness of grief, he probably would have just went to sleep and stuff like that, and just left it up to whoever Belmont that's in charge at that time. And that's when I would still say that in years to come, you know, they're defeating Draculas like left and right. You know, I think everything would happen to the part where they can't use, like, one of the Belmonts can't use the whip. Then somebody comes along the line, purifies the whip again, makes it all good again. Then somebody picks up the whip, uses the whip again. Then I would strongly say it would go further into Salma's part. But around this time, Alucard would have woken up and been like, oh, what's going on here? The world's a little bit different. Stuff like that. I'm like, oh wait, Dracula's around. How is that possible? And then he would immediately think that, well, maybe his son is around and stuff. But, you know, his son is dead. So he's like, oh shit, damn, my son's dead, but Dracula's still running around and stuff. Until, you know, Salma does his thing, and he's like, and around this time, Salma is the one that has even more control, because he's like, well, I'm not going to allow this to happen and stuff. Now, in the defeat of Dracula, you kind of see like maybe Deucalion Tepish's spirit, like Alucard's son, like he sees his spirit, like his son's spirit, and he tells him like, you know, dad, this and that. He's like, I love you, you know, because it will play on the heart of Alucard, because this whole theory and this whole what if story is basically how when Dracula fell in love with his wife, with his second wife, when he fell in love with his second wife, and you know, they hung her, they burned her, and they did everything crazy to her, and he just went on this rampage and said, yo, humanity must die. Now in this case, Alucard have experienced love with Sypha, and he's like, well, I want to experience the same love that how my father experienced and stuff. Now, sure, in the story, like, yeah, he loved his mother, but you know, that's like a mother and son love type thing. It's not like, you know, love, you know. So I think that in this story, he would have been in love with Sypha, but it wouldn't have happened where, you know, they burnt on a stake, none of that crap, but more like, it's just that Dracula is controlling him, and he's taking control of his body and making him do all these things. And on that note, he's crazy powerful. So at this point, you have no choice but to kill him, because, like I say, he's even more stronger than Richter. So it's like, you know, he's sad, and he just goes to sleep. Like, he doesn't exact revenge on the world or anything. It's Dracula. It's his fault. So he just goes to sleep. Now, he would probably feel a little bit annoyed and pissed off that Salma is the one that had more of the control than his own son did. He would feel a little bit annoyed by it, but he's not gonna do anything about it, because he's like, well, I've sworn to protect. I made this organization, you know, to fight off against Dracula and any other supernatural creature and stuff like that. You know, he kind of still does that, so it doesn't change anything, because, you know, at the end of the day, Alucard is still a good guy. You know, it's just that the deeds that happened with his father that eventually corrupted his son. His son had got the power because he thought that, well, countless times of defeating him, let me just take his power in general, and then I can have control of his power. But, you know, it doesn't really work out, because I would say that he would have control of his power for, like, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, until he starts to go mad. Because he can no longer control it, and then Alucard tries to help him, but again, it doesn't happen. Because Dracula has full control over him at this point. And yeah, I think inevitably Alucard will feel the same way on how his father felt all those years ago, but just different. Just different, because it's like I said, he still will be sworn to protect humanity even after everything that happened. You know, then whoever Belmont, well, no, because Julius would still be there and stuff. He may not be as strong, like I said, as how, you know, if it was in the bloodline of Sypha and stuff like that. But no, he would still be strong, but may or may not be as strong as how we've seen them in previous games and stuff. So yeah, you know, Deucalion and Tepes, you know, you know, for the sake of the story, you know. But yeah, you know, if you like what you heard what you like. You know, it's been a while. Don't bash me. Please subscribe, share, do all that wonderful stuff. And I'll catch you later.
Perfect.